some makeup tips that will take your makeup to the next level. Starting with primer. If you have big pores like me, I would highly recommend a pore filling primer. Not only will this fill in and blur your pores, it'll also give you that smooth finish. And if you want a more affordable option, I would recommend the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. Now you need a primer that's going to make your makeup last longer. You can either use the e.l.f. or the Milk Primer, but I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Primer today. This is going to give your makeup a nice base to stick to and make it last. And if you have oily skin, I would highly recommend doing this. I'm using the Maybelline Fit Me setting powder in the color Deep. And what I like to do is pick up some of that powder using my beauty blender and tap some of it in the back of my hand so I can use as little as possible. You do not want to pack this on. And I just like to set it around my nose, around my smile lines, because my smile lines tend to crease a lot, and on my forehead and my eyebrows. And this really helps to also set my eyebrows. So this step on too much product on your under eyes, because if you're putting foundation and you're putting halo glow and then you're going in and putting concealer, you have like those lines because there's just way too much product there. So try to avoid that area whenever you are putting on your foundation. And speaking of foundation, I'm going in with my Fenty Beauty Soft Matte Foundation in the color 450, and I'm just putting that in those same areas where I just put the halo glow, plus my nose and my forehead and my neck. Of course, can't forget the neck. As I always say, as a dark skin girl is much darker than the rest of my body for some reason. I think it's because I was a fat baby. So I have to put foundation on my neck to even out the color. So this is how we're looking. Now we're going to go in with concealer. I'm using my e.l.f. Camo Concealer. This concealer is so goated. And for application for your concealer, try not to place it directly under your under eyes. Give it a little space. And also another thing I like to do is kind of create a reverse contour. So I place that concealer right next to my nose, reverse contour for me. I also went ahead and did the little side things. I like to call them the extendo. And I also applied the concealer on my nose. Now I'm blending. And when you're blending your concealer, start blending from the bottom and then blend inward. And the reason for that, again, is because you never want to pack on too much product directly under your eyes in those areas that crease. Always try to put as little product in that area as possible, especially if you get really bad creasing on your under reverse contour. As you can see, I blended that concealer right like on my nose where I would put a contour, like right underneath where a contour would go, so that I don't actually have to contour my nose. And now I'm blending out those side pieces. And when I blend out the side pieces, I like to make a sharp line. This is going to give me a facelift, and I will diffuse it a little bit later, and it's not going to go like all the way up like that. But anyway, I'm just making sure that my under eyes are really, really blended. Everything is blended and smoothly spread out. I'm going in and blending my nose now. And I was saying earlier that I did make that nose bit a little too thick. Usually it would be a lot thinner. But again, just make sure everything is nicely blended out, nice and smooth. Take your time if you need to. And now I'm going to contour. I'm using my Fenty Beauty Matchstick in the color Espresso. And I put that contour directly on my cheekbones. I also did put it on my forehead and use it a little bit on the outer corner. Keep the inner corner sharp. And then I also take it down and just give my cheekbones a little more structure. And I'm literally blending this contour, or should I say bronzer, directly on my cheekbones. And that's going to look different for everyone because everyone has different facial structure. So just try to figure out a way to blend the contour or the bronzer in a way that fits your specific facial structure. And then I go in and blend out the forehead piece as well. And I'm always forgetting to do this, the bronzer, and put it directly on my jawline to make it a little more structured and a little more defined. And I promise this makes a difference. And then I'm just going back in and blending out my concealer again because and before I set, I just want to make sure that everything is locked into place. And we're going to be setting in part 2. So make sure you check that out. It's already up right now. You definitely don't want to miss all the tips that I still have left to show you guys. I promise you need these tips. And your makeup is only half done. Like, be for real.